A decade has passed since a series of terrorist attacks blew up apartment buildings across Russia. Over a period of 2 weeks, more than 300 people died and over 2,000 were injured or lost their homes.
10 years ago, Maxim's life changed dramatically. In September 1999, most of his family died while they were asleep when their apartment building in Moscow was blown up. A decade on, Maxim is still heartbroken.
They were gone so suddenly, my mom and dad, both on that night. And I regret so much that I didn't phone them more often, didn't come to see them more often. My life is so empty without them.
It is remembered as Bloody September. Over a period of 2 weeks, a string of terrorist attacks rocked Russia.
2 years and 2 days ahead of 9/11, 2 seconds before midnight, a quiet Moscow neighborhood was rocked by the sound of explosion. On this very spot stood an apartment building which was bombed, burying more than 100 people and peaceful life in the Russian capital under the rubble.
More than 300 people died in a succession of blasts throughout the country. Almost 2,000 were injured and lost their homes. Military operations in the Caucasus had ended 3 years before, but by setting off bombs, the Chechen terrorists seemed to be sending a clear message. They were not ready for peace. But for some, the responsibility lay elsewhere.
Boris Yeltsin was largely inadequate as a president at that time, and he was losing grip on the country. That's why the authorities knew that militants in the Caucasus were rearming, but they had no order from the president to contain them.
After the whole country succumbed to fear, someone had to act. It was then that Russia's Prime Minister Vladimir Putin delivered a memorable phrase.
We'll pursue the terrorists everywhere. If we catch them in the toilet, we'll waste them right there.
Blasts in Buynaksk, Moscow and Volgodonsk were the last straw. Several more years of intense fighting against terrorists in Chechnya followed, which were accompanied by more terrorist attacks on the civilian population. A decade on, those who lost their loved ones in the initial bombing campaign still gather once a year to commemorate the dead. They say they will never feel safe. Alexei Rashevsky, RT.